Welcome one and welcome all. I'll be the first to admit, things are about to get catty here on the Three Guys Before the Game podcast.
What does that mean?
Catty, you know how like people get catty, right? Get catty. With a K, isn't it K? K-A-T-T-Y, catty? Well, here's the deal.
I don't know. Kirchhoff's not here to look that up. That would normally be what he does.
He'd be all over it right now. Yeah, he'd be all over it. Like catty, K-A-T-T. Actually, the history of that word came down from Sanskrit. It was translated through Mediterranean seas. Now, actually, what I mean is this. Mountaineers bounce the Bearcats of Cincinnati, and here comes some Cougars on Saturday. Bearcats bounced, Cougars coming. That's the title of Three Guys Before the Game, and we're glad to have you. Three Guys brought to us by Comax Business Systems, keeping West Virginia's business data safe, secure, efficient for 25 years. By GoMart. Go for good times. Go for GoMart. Go get that rewards card that GoMart has. You can go there into the store, online, wherever you need to get it. You get it, and you immediately begin racking up rewards points, which saves you money on fuel and food. Three Guys brought to us by Lou Wendell Marine Sales in St. Albans. That's right. The business that provides James Bond with all of the pontoon boats you've seen in the Bond flick, going all the way back to Sean Connery.
Unconfirmed.
Lou Wendell Marine Sales. They've got a Three Guys special. We'll show it to you and talk about it a little bit later. Spreads on Stats going to be really, really good today. I mean, really, really nice, Clark. Going to be real good. Brought to us by the Conley CPA Group, providing value beyond the numbers. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the Super Bowl for CPAs and accountants across the country. They get ready for taxes. And here on Three Guys, we're in the midst, probably our harvest season for numbers. February, numbers have resolved. And by that, I mean they've become more accurate because we've played enough games halfway through the season.
They've matured.
They've matured like a nice wine. And now you can get some really good trends. Those numbers are coming up. Conley CPA Group provides value beyond the numbers and the exclusive sponsor of Spreads on Stats. Thanks so very much for being with us. Hope you're all doing well. So here we go. West Virginia.
Hold on. Before you start, in order to save some texts, now I know people are listening live. They've probably already texted. For those that aren't listening to this live,
what did I say?
C-A-T-T-Y. Caddy.
Excuse me?
C-A-T-T-Y. If you act catty, you're malicious or snotty towards other people. Right? Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah. Boy, you went to the little Hoppy Jr. over there.
Well.
Yeah. So K-A-T-T-Y, is that how I spelled it?
Yeah.
That's not the right word.
Correct. I don't know that it is a word.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah.
If you put K-A-T-T-Y in definition, it gives you the definition for C-A-T-T-Y.
Correct. That's how I got there.
Well, that's going to help me.
Thank you for confirming.
Deliberately hurtful in one's remarks, spiteful. Well, we're not. I mean, that's not my intent. That's probably improper use of the word.
The word was originally caddish. Is caddy was born out of caddish.
Really?
Yeah. And before that, it simply just meant pertaining to cats, which is also what kind of where you were headed. So you got it. You just had the spelling. I just wanted to save some text. So save your text on that particular subject.
So if I would have done a better job thinking about the title, I should have said the title is going to be Caddish. That's it. Just Caddish. That means cats are coming?
Pertaining to cats.
Yeah.
2 generations ago, pertaining to cats. But here's the thing. The search algorithm probably wouldn't have loved caddish. I don't know how many people are out there searching for caddish. This episode might not be seen if you had titled it caddish.
Wouldn't have done us any good, is what you're saying about
correct.
That? All right. So basically all I was trying to say is West Virginia played the Bearcats. Now they've got Cougars coming. It's a caddy. C-A-T-T-Y. All right.
I see where you were going.
Yeah, tried.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, how about them Mountaineers?
That's a big win, man. That's a big win. So is this Hoppy's obvious segment right here.
This is BOO, Brad's obvious.
That's a big win. But here's what I mean by that. So that's a top 35 in the Ken Palm rankings. I know Cincinnati's got a good net ranking. You know how we always go by Ken Palm on this show. That's a top 35 win, number one. But number two, even more than just that raw numbers, and we went through it on Monday. I went through it on Sports On last night. This was a very difficult matchup for West Virginia in terms of what you needed to have happen against Cincinnati. They don't allow it to happen very often to give West Virginia the keys that it needs to have happen to win games. So just the matchup, team on team, was not favorable for West Virginia. To find a way to get a win against that team with that matchup, that's a really nice win right there.
Totally agree.
By the way, I'll explain that in more detail coming up.
Right, the numbers.
Yeah.
A few observations. I'd watched Cincinnati play several times already, but it was on television. And I said this in our preview, like they were scary good. I know their record was 3-4 in the league. We talked about it on our last episode that their 4 losses in conference play had been by 5 points or less.
1, 3, 4, and 5.
Yeah, 1, 3, 4, and 5. And now they got another one, right? Last night it was 4. That was the margin last night. Mm-hmm. So they made me, they impressed me, and I loved their length. I loved their toughness and their defense. And I thought, this is not a good matchup for West Virginia because West Virginia, struggles on the glass, has been rerouted by teams that play physical. And by that, I mean just taken off and pushed around. And I think it's not a good matchup. The difference or the potential that you had to win the game was why? It was on the hardboards of the WVU Coliseum. And we know in college basketball, overall and specific to the Big 12 Conference, that home floor means a tremendous amount. And so that was your hope. Then the great unknown to this matchup going in was Jesse Edwards' second game. And as I said on the last show, I don't know if it was going to take Jesse 2 games to get back into a flow, if it was going to take him 2 weeks to get into a flow. You just didn't know. That was the unknown. From the opening tip, and it may even be the first time he touched it, he went straight at Aziz Bandago, who's a big 7-footer, legitimate 7-footer. Mm-hmm. Like sometimes they say guys are 7 feet tall, but you look at him and you go like, probably 6'10". Like you didn't need to get a ruler, right? You did not get, like you take a look at Aziz and you go, 7? Yep, that's 7. Mm-hmm. He went straight at him. Like you would think, hey, he might go after a 6'9" center. No, he went straight at him a couple of times. And I went like, huh. And Josh Eilert told me before the game started, he said, we're starting Jesse. And basically, to read through what he said, he kind of said like, last couple days in practice, he went, turned it. And he's like, I'm back. Let's go. Give it to me. So that was the unknown.
Was he back?
Ooh, right?
How many player on the floor?
Yeah.
Was the best player on the floor last night.
How many times did we say while he was gone, you just don't know what this group would have been or could be until they all get out there at the same time? I kept using the musical analogy. You got a bunch of guys that play instruments. You haven't had them all together yet to play a song. Mm-hmm. Well, now song number 2 for these guys sound pretty good. And he just makes all the difference in the world, not only statistically, but the things that he does that never will show up on a stat sheet.
Correct.
Just the mere presence of him forcing defenses to play differently, weak side has to come over and help out, changes everything. And so now, Quinn Slazinski, guess what, man? You get free Christmas presents because now everything's coming here. Out it goes. A willing passer, he is. Mm-hmm. Kerr Carissa, running around like a kid that just got new sneakers, right?
As well he should.
He's happier than heck because now I can do my thing. This is what I do. This is what I do. I draw defenses toward me, and I pass, and he gets 7 assists. All right, so those are just several things, and I'll conclude my Tony obvious comments, TOC, Tony's obvious comments here. Can't say enough about this team and its toughness mentally last night. Mm-hmm. You're down 10 after having the lead. You go down 10 with 6:39 to go, and Cincinnati's just making shots out of its posterior. Would have been an easy time to say, oh, woe is us, not our night, do. Kind of like that. Remember The Price is Right when you'd bid too high? Could have done that one. Could have done that one. Instead, they went like, let's go a little bit here. Boom, boom, boom. You get the lead. You make your free throws in the end, and you get yourself a win, and you go like, okay. It's the great feeling of how hard it is to get a win. Now, we have BYU coming in for the first time. They'll start shooting threes. That really ugly red tarmac around the Coliseum?
Yes.
When you go in,
replacing that. Still there?
Still there. Now it's got potholes in it. Anyway, they'll start shooting threes like when they get off the bus right from the red side, try to put it in the basket. Just from the parking lot, they'll try to throw them up. So different challenge, but you're home. 6:00 game, kind of neat. Not too early, not too late. Should be a good crowd. And off we go. So we'll get into that a little bit. Brad's got the preview numbers, and we're going to get into the breakdown from Cincinnati. But first, a reminder to you that when it comes to good times, you go for Go-Mart. Right now, Hoppy Kercheval weekly, up and down the interstate, passes and stops oftentimes at countless Go-Marts. They're not only up the I-79 corridor, they are all over the West Virginia, over 100 Go-Marts in the great state of West Virginia, all of them offering opportunities for you to get rewards points. All you have to do is get their card. Sure, they got toasty coffee. Sure, you walk around there enough, and if you look far and long enough, you will find Slim Jims at the length of fly rods, pork rinds as much as 6 pounds in weight, and Reese cups that you have to climb up to with a step ladder. That big. They're all there at Go-Mart. So go for good times, go for Go-Mart, and go get that rewards card. Three Guys also brought to us by Comax Business Systems, the official business systems operator of Three Guys before the game. Brad and I use their equipment, their computer, or not their computer, but their printer. And printers. They got printers all over the state of West Virginia, literally, all business equipment, but they also, over the 25 years they've been in business, they service businesses' needs, and so now they offer remote monitoring of your IT. They can provide network help, can do a complete computer colonoscopy of your business to see if you may have a polyp in your business networking. They can take care of that. They can remove that. They can fix it and tell you all what you need to do, and they do that free price quote, plus, obviously, digital phone systems competitively priced from one line to 1,000. Comax Business Systems. All right, I've been looking forward to this segment. Really looking forward to this segment here. Senator, up late at night. Late at night.
We'll just go right to the numbers.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's jump into the analytics portion.
Huh? We're going right into the numbers?
Yeah.
Okay.
Why'd you have something else?
No.
Yeah, I think we do it.
I'd have a double long segment here.
As you know, sometimes the Spreads on Stats segment, kind of like an undulating hill,
Yeah,
kind of
that's
like taking a ride in West Virginia. You're gonna keep going through a various bend here,
Fair
a bend
enough.
here, a hill here, go up here, come over on this side. That's what Spreads on Stats has become. Basically, the show's become Spreads on Stats, various parts.
Fair enough.
Brought to us by the Conley CPA Group, providing value beyond the numbers. And one of the great services they provide, obviously with technology changing, you don't have to have an accounting department sitting right there in your business if you don't need to have one. They provide remote accounting and remote CFO services, Chief Financial Officer services. They can come in there and be that service to you. I use this term, they're kind of like a shepherd walking with lambs in an open field. They kind of guide. They guide business and say, here, we're going to go here, we're not going to go here. And you know what else they say? I don't know if they ever said this now, but stay away from that big bad wolf. Right? Stay away from the big.
They say that?
Basically, that's what they're doing. Big bad wolf. We'll take care of you from the big bad wolf. It's the Conley CPA Group, providing value beyond the wolf. Good numbers, aren't they?
Interesting numbers here.
Mature numbers.
Talk about mature. That's about as mature as it's ever been.
That's
I'm about
a nice
to get into.
pullover, by the way.
The Three Guys.
Which one is that?
think it's at the site.
That one is?
Episode800.com.
What spot? What brand is
I
that?
don't know.
Just like a
Off
nice,
brand.
it's clean.
Nice bright white.
Yeah. Yeah, you can
Little
even,
winter white.
I was going to say you can wear that after Labor Day.
Yeah, those rolls are out.
Oh,
Yeah, you don't have to worry about that anymore.
okay.
That's really more pants than it was top.
Okay.
But that roll's gone. That's
Sure.
outdated.
Outdated.
Yeah,
now.
you want to wear white pants, bring it.
Cool. All right, give me some numbers.
Let's stay on Jesse Edwards for a second, and I'll just add one thing to what you said there before I get into some of his numbers. There was also, so you're 100% right on what he does offensively, changes how that looks and how they run and how they're able to function on the offensive end. But how about the defensive end as well? And I thought there was a play late that exemplified this where Cincinnati got the ball on the wing, took it right at Kirk Kriisa, who got beat off the dribble, which all season, if that happens, if the guards get beat, for the most part, it's turned into what?
Got a problem.
A layup and points in the paint.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, Jesse slides over, swats the ball. So very simple basketball play, but I thought that was monumentally impactful for what he does on that back end. Couple things. Gives those guards or those perimeter defenders a little bit of help. They know they can be a little more aggressive because if they get beat, they've got somebody back there that's either going to flat block the shot or at least make the offensive player think about going all the way in. So I thought that was pretty evident as well. So he finishes with 25 and 10, 9 of 9 from the field in the second half.
Yeah, it's pretty
9
good.
of 9 in the second half.
Pretty good.
That wasn't against a lineup that had a 6'5 center. As you mentioned, Bandego was a big. They had a couple others. They had some
Watkins,
length.
6'11".
Yeah, they had some length.
Jamil Reynolds didn't have a good first trip into the Coliseum. That technical foul didn't do him any good.
It was a dumb technical.
Yeah.
And
for those that missed it, and I missed it initially. You saw what he did.
Yeah, go ahead. And I'll give you some context to it.
So he backs down Pat Sumnick and scores over him down in the low block. And then when he comes back down the other end of the floor, he looks at the West Virginia bench, and Edwards is sitting, and he says, come on out here, get a little bit of this. Well, official Jebediah Hartness, goes by Jeb, he saw it, rang him up with the technical. 2 points. Thank you very much.
It was also a bit of a Lifetime Achievement Award.
What do you mean by that?
Well, an earlier possession, the young man also had a block. Came kind of over on top of the West Virginia player that was down, looked down, gave him a smile and a little taunt that was not called.
I saw it.
So
that was a second.
Someone saw that, and it came back. That's why the second one came really quickly, if you noticed.
Thank you.
So, Lifetime Achievement Award.
Okay, off topic. Stunner. I tell you all the time, and this is rhetorical because you already know this, but I tell our fans all the time what Brad just said there. They saw that he taunted him earlier in the game, gave him the benefit of the doubt. The next time you get even close to something off course, they're going to get you. That's why it's better to just don't do it, because you're a marked man. Just a matter of time. You're a marked man. They're going to get you. It's kind of like the old Midas commercial. Or whatever. Was it Midas? You can pay us now, you can pay us later? It's the same thing. Was that Midas?
I don't remember if that was Midas or not.
No, it wasn't Midas, but it was some kind of a car part. You can pay us now, or you can pay us later. I think it was an oil filter. Anyway, I'll get it. They got him. And that goes back to the Mountaineer football game against Oklahoma when you had the block out of bounds to the Mountaineer bench. That started.
Ridiculous call.
That started pregame. That started in pregame when there was a fluff up at midfield with pushing and shoving and punching. They got the number of the Mountaineer then, marked it. They just waited, and it came at the most inopportune time, and they banged them.
Still haven't seen that called since.
Don't disagree.
But you know what I have? I have seen that play on multiple highlights, people calling it out of a great job of blocking.
Oh, yeah, great job of blocking. Yeah.
By the way, you and I differ on some of that taunting. I kind of like it. I like it when it happens in a game.
Would you have had a problem if they called the T when he looked down on him after the block?
Yeah.
You would have had a problem with it?
Yeah, because he didn't totally stand over him. He kind of just smiled. I mean, some of that's sports, man. There's got to be a little give and take. What I would have liked, what I would have preferred, when he looked over at the bench and gave Jesse Edwards, like there's a meme out there with The Rock in his wrestling days, standing in the middle of the ring doing that.
Yeah.
When he did that, I would have liked Jesse Edwards just to immediately pop up off the bench and sub himself in. Say, was that right? You want a little? Because I'm coming back in, I'm about to go 9 for 9 on you.
Yeah.
You want to wave at me again? Because I just went for 25 and 10.
Well, what was surprising is after the tee, they kept him out there for like one more possession, and West Virginia, I think might have been Creasa, banged a shot over.
Yeah.
By the way, that was Fram oil filters. You can pay me now or pay me later. Fram oil filters. Don't need 38 texts. Thank you. I got it. Fram oil filters. And by the way, a couple episodes ago, yeah, Rush was the name of the band, Geddy Lee. I get it. I said Supertramp. Kill me. All right, fine. It's 72 texts, 13 inquiries from Rolling Stone magazine. I get it. It's Rush. It was Rush. All right, go ahead.
Stay on Jesse Edwards. You said you thought Kirk Crease was probably happy to see him back?
I'd say.
Think the pick and roll works?
That's the whole reason they put the pieces together.
That was the second most points from the pick and roll man all season, behind only Kansas, which they were elite there when Pat was so good on the finishing part. Here's the other one that jumps out to you. I talked on Monday's show last night on Sportsline that one of the areas that concerned me the most was on the offensive glass against Cincinnati. So first of all, not only are they good on the offensive glass, that was a concern, but West Virginia getting points off of its offensive rebounds seemed unlikely. There's only been 3 teams all season that have had an above average offensive rebounding rate against Cincinnati, and all 3 of them are in the top 80 nationally in offensive rebounding rate. West Virginia came into this game like in the 236 range. So you thought, all right, you're probably not going to get any offensive rebounds and points off of that, so that's why you've got to make shots and you got to get to the free throw line, which I'll get to both of those in a second. West Virginia did get crushed on the offensive glass, 18-9. Got doubled up. So that went exactly as you expected it to go. But here's what's interesting. WVU wins the second chance points category and had the second most points this season on putbacks. How about that?
Yes.
So you didn't have the raw volume, but you were super efficient when you did get them and finish, and a lot of that was attributable to Jesse Edwards. So that was massive. So you lose a category, but really got a win, in essence, out of that. So that's part. How do you pull an upset? Things like that happen, right? Those anomalies happen. Here's the other part. That was the most points at the rim for West Virginia since the Ohio State game back on December 30th, and the most points off dunks all season. Jesse being back helps. All right, you want to get into some mature numbers? I thought this was fun last night.
Yeah.
Hunter and I were going back and forth at the game about this, keeping track. All right, let's dive in. Last night on Sportsline, I dove into some keys, and the way I looked at it was this. What happens generally when Cincinnati loses a game, and what things happen when West Virginia wins games this season?
Right.
And that should identify some markers, statistical markers that you need to get to if you're going to win the game. With me?
Yeah.
Let's start on the Cincinnati side. Number 1, they have lower points off of turnovers in their losses than in their wins.
They have lower points off of turnovers.
Fewer.
Okay, they lose that category.
Yeah, fewer points off turnovers in their losses.
Yep.
Last night they only had 12, and they lost the category 22-12.
Minus 10.
Minus 10. Check. Feeling pretty good.
Yeah.
When they lose, they don't get as many points in the paint as they normally do, and they struggle from 3. Just 24% from 3 in their losses. All right, let's check that. Cincinnati got 46% of its points in the paint, really close to their average, but fewer than they've averaged over the last 5 games. So that was down a little bit. But you couple that with part 2, the missed threes, almost dead on. Cincinnati made just 28% of its 3-point attempts, almost right on the number that it usually makes when it loses games. So 2 for 2 in the Cincinnati category. That kept you alive. You're seeing those numbers come about, and you're like, okay, you got a shot here. They couldn't buy a 3, right, early on. All right, you've got a shot. Now flip to the other side. When West Virginia wins, there's a few things that happen across the board. What's number 1? We've been talking about this for years.
Free throws.
Free throw attempt rate. It needs to be at 43% or more for a West Virginia win this season.
Can you define free throw attempt rate for our listeners?
It's basically your free throws taken divided by your field goals attempted. Okay? So it's not a raw number of more free throws made. It's just the number of free throws taken versus your field goal attempts. The greater that percentage, the better West Virginia has been. 43% or more is your marker. I was a little concerned early. West Virginia didn't take its first free throw until 6:51 to go in the first half. The number yesterday, 55%. It kept steadily rising. It got all the way to 55 with some of those late free throws, but with like 3 minutes to go, it crossed the threshold. That game was close down the stretch. I tapped Hunter. I said, "You're at the 43% rate. Take a look here."
So you're kind of like a Rain Man during these games, and you're sitting next to Hunter up top there, and you're kind of like one of that doctor that could see into the future. That's kind of how you are. Like you get those glasses on during the game. You wear those?
No, I did not have those on.
But like you're just saying to him, like, here's what's going to happen next. You're just watching the numbers.
Yeah,
kind of like a Rain Man.
He probably struggled to get some of his writing done because I kept tapping him. Because throughout the game, you kept looking at, okay, they're only at 24% free throw rate. All right, they're at 27. Greg, this is climbing. They're at 37. All right, boom, they just hit 43% on their free throw rate. Take a look. And the game was tied at that point when it crossed that threshold. Here's the other one. We were keeping track of this as well.
This is 2 for 2 or is this 3 for 3?
That's 3 for 3.
All right.
West Virginia needs to pass the ball well. When it wins games, its assist rate is right at around 60% or greater. Last night, West Virginia, 15 assists on 24 made field goals, comes out to 63%.
Boom.
Check. So that was good. Make shots game last night, we said coming in, and I just told you partly why. You hoped you could get some free throws. You didn't think you'd get the points off offensive rebounds, so you better make some shots. West Virginia shot 45% from 3. Didn't take a ton of them, but super effective when they did. You shoot 45%, you'll take that. West Virginia's effective field goal percentage is about 10% higher in wins. So effective field goal percentage is different than just straight. Effective field goal percentage takes into account the extra point you get on three-pointers. So you get a bonus for those. So it's 10% higher in wins. Last night, it was 52%. 7% higher than what it has been in the losses. So right all up against that number you needed.
Mm-hmm.
One final note. We got really tricky last night on Sportsline. Said, if you really want to watch a zone, right? We tried to go back to the zone. We identified one at Oklahoma State, but then also said...
You mean a floor area?
A floor area, a shooting zone that West Virginia could have success from. Against Oklahoma State, we identified it, but we also said West Virginia doesn't get to that spot very often, so it may not come to fruition. Last night, there were a couple that were big. It was the right and left wings for three-pointers. Kriisa had been absolutely scorching from both. Slazinski had been very good. And then we said, all right, if West Virginia's going to win, Raekwon Battle has to have a bounce back. He's got to at least get into double figures and look for him to make a 3 as well. 3 of West Virginia's 5 made three-pointers came from one of those 2 zones, so 60%. And the big one, Raekwon's 3 with under a minute to play that gave West Virginia the 65-63 lead came from that right wing three-point zone.
Yeah.
So Cincinnati had been giving up those spots. West Virginia had been hitting from those spots. That matched up and worked again last night. So it was one of those you could watch the game. If you were following the numbers and watching that game play out, you could see the numbers ticking in West Virginia's favor, and you could see it coming right there. They got a chance to win this game.
Yeah, that's really good stuff. Couple of thoughts. So Cincinnati is not a good three-point shooting team on the season. Were they what? They were not good.
On the season?
Yeah, off the top of your head. I had my notes. But anyway, that's not what they do. But last night, regardless of that, 48% of their attempts came from behind the three-point line. Mm-hmm. That's not what they needed to do. So they took 48%. On the other side, West Virginia at times this season has been relegated to chucking up threes because they couldn't get anything inside without Jesse Edwards around, right? UCF game, Houston game come to mind. You sit back there and chuck. Last night, only 21% of West Virginia's shot attempts were from 3. They were extremely judicious. As you said, they only took 11 the whole game. They made 5. They went 24-51 overall, 47% total shooting, 46% from 3. The game could have been over even earlier had West Virginia made free throws at its seasonal rate. They ended the game at 57% from the free throw line. They're about a 72-ish free throw percent shooting team. If they made the things over with. Now, let's talk about this.
Hold on, let me put some numbers to what you just asked. And that's part of why we said going into the game on Monday, the key was you have to be able to limit their paint points and force them to shoot from outside. If they make threes on you, you tip your cap. They can't kill you inside where they get about 50% of their points from inside the paint. Well, last night, What'd you say their three-point attempt rate was? 48%? Mm-hmm. So West Virginia did that. It shut the lane off on them, forced them to shoot from the outside. Their regular on-the-season three-point attempt rate is 35%. So they took more threes than normal because why? West Virginia did a better job inside the paint of closing that down.
Yeah, and to that point, Wes Miller, their head coach, talked about that just a teeny little bit in his post-game comments, crediting West Virginia's ability to force them out into the perimeter. So my question from an X's and O's perspective, and I'm going to talk to Josh today, I'm going to ask him, okay, what were you doing that kept them away from getting into the lane? They were doing something, maybe gapping or something that just didn't let it go, or maybe the way that they were playing screens just kept pushing them out.
They did, if you watch how they did screens, I thought West Virginia did a great job of hopping out and hedging, but having the rotational defender jump in to cut that other spot off. And again, that's not all on Jesse Edwards, but he's just a massive difference in there. That's a 7-foot dude with a long wingspan. You don't think it's harder to operate in the lane when you got that kind of guy? Mm-hmm. So that was a big part of it.
Okay, let's get into the elephant in the room. Did you know that we had an elephant in the room?
Did not.
Yeah, we do have an elephant in the room. Okay, so here's the dealioski. The last two games, what did we talk about? Why did West Virginia lose to UCF and Oklahoma State? Because free throw disparity. West Virginia, go back. UCF, Oklahoma State made more free throws in those two games than West Virginia attempted. And we sit here and we throw our hands out and we scream and say we're getting screwed. The officials are killing us, da-da-da-da-da-da. Okay. But I say, it bounces. It goes back and forth both ways. But what happened last night? West Virginia didn't just make more free throws than Cincinnati attempted. They made twice as many free throws as Cincinnati attempted. Massive differential. Cincinnati took 8 free throws, made 6. 8 in 40 minutes. West Virginia took 28 and made 16. There you go. It's always a stat that you can take a look at, and you just don't know when that bug is going to bite you. But last night, it bit Cincinnati. We had one on the national side. The disparity in free throw attempts between Purdue and Northwestern was gargantuan. Right?
It was one of the 48 for Purdue to like 8?
Yeah.
Something like that?
Just an unbelievable number. So, not ideal if you're on the wrong side and you jump up and down and you're happy if it happens for you. And you just don't know.
Well, and again, I'll say it at the risk of repeating myself. If you've listened to this show for any amount of time, this isn't the first year we've talked about this. We've talked about West Virginia's ability to get to the line in terms of that free throw rate metrics for years. It's been one of the ways that West Virginia has won its games. And that makes sense if you figure out why. At times, West Virginia, when it's had its really good defensive teams, it's labored offensively, right? So how you scoring points, you're either making shots, you're putting offensive rebounds back in, or you're getting to the free throw line. Well, if you're not making shots and you're still winning games, it makes sense that you're getting it from where? Those other two areas. So West Virginia has been doing this for a while.
Yeah, so that's really good stuff. Do you need to take like a rest break, or are you ready to go right into ready to do the thing right for BYU?
Let's go.
Really? You don't even need to break?
Nope.
Spreads on Stats continues, brought to us by the Conley CPA Group, complete service public accounting consulting, serving clients throughout the state and beyond since 1985.
We pointed this out on Monday, so this will be kind of fun if you're a basketball nut and you like to look down in the weeds and stuff. This is a really drastic stylistic change here. You just went from, what did we just say the key was against Cincinnati? Keeping them out of the paint, where they get nearly 50% of their points inside that paint. Pack it in, force them to shoot threes, hope they miss some shots, you take advantage of your stuff. BYU's the opposite. They get about 39% of their points in the paint.
Don't care.
And will shoot it. And then keep shooting it, and then they'll shoot some more. Their offense gets all the attention as well it should. 8th nationally right now in offensive efficiency. But how about their defense is 24th? So they'll guard you too. There's a lot of games left in the season, I realize. But right now, if you take this BYU team with their metrics, they're in a select group of teams that should win the national title.
Excuse me?
21 out of 22, 22 out of 23, somewhere in there, of the last 21, 22 years, teams that are in the top 25 in both offense and defensive efficiency have been the winning team, the team that wins the national championship. Only once it hasn't held true. Top 25 in both offense and defensive efficiency. BYU is that right now as we sit here today.
They're there, huh?
Again, a lot of ball to play.
Sure.
But that tells you what kind of team they've been playing, what kind of level they've been playing at so far. They take as many threes as anyone in the country. Number one nationally in three-point attempt rate. But here's what's tricky about them. They're third nationally in two-point field goal percentage. So not only do they shoot threes well, they also shoot the twos very well. And what happens when they miss, which is rare? They're elite.
They might go get that rebound.
They're elite. 30th nationally on the offensive glass. So you got to watch out for that. How about this too, offensively? Effective at all three levels. 75% field goal percentage at the rim, 54% from the mid-range left elbow, and 41% from the right wing three. That's pretty elite. 75 at the rim, 54 from an elbow shot, 41 from a right wing three. They shoot it from all over. They also pass it well. You know, that was one of those numbers we gave for West Virginia. When they win, it's a 60% assist rate or more.
Mm-hmm.
BYU is going to pass it. That's what leads to a lot of their open shots. They're third nationally in assist ratio. Here's the one thing they don't do offensively. Don't get to the line. 361st out of 362 teams.
So they're not going to normally beat you at the line.
They're not going to. Can you win that category, and by how much? Right? Critical for West Virginia to get the win at the free throw line. 361 out of 362. You don't see that very often, do you?
That's what an aberration it is from all those other stats that are so high.
Jump shooting team, right? So they're not fouled very often because they're taking jump shots. Their pick and roll ball handler is excellent, so you're going to have to defend that. You've got to watch out on cutters to the basket. That's where that passing comes in. Oklahoma State didn't do this normally, but they did against West Virginia and really ate the Mountaineers up with cutting to the basket. BYU is 15th nationally in points per possession on those plays. So spread you out. You've got to be out on them to respect the shooters, and they start cutting through the lane and delivering that ball. That's going to be something to keep an eye on. If West Virginia can defend that, they're going to have a shot. They shoot 42% from three when left unguarded. That's always an area of concern. Sure. Cincinnati took advantage of that last night, had 21 points on unguarded catch-and-shoot jump shots. So watch out there. If you leave them open too often, you're going to get beat. Flip over defensively for a second. Same profile as last night in terms of Cincinnati. You might not win the raw numbers on the offensive glass, but can you have success when you get an offensive rebounding of putting it straight back up? They're 14th nationally in defensive rebounding. So that's going to be a challenge to get points there. They're very good against spot-up jumpers. Baylor made a bunch of shots in a win over them. Texas Tech made a bunch of shots. Outside of that, they haven't given up a lot. Here's what they do, Tony. Ready?
What do they do?
They leave you open, unguarded, 45% of the time on your jump shots. In their 4 Big 12 losses, teams made them pay all double-digit points on open jump shots.
Make shots.
So that's a metric. It's a make shots game again. You're going to have to get them at the free throw line. You're going to have to make your shots, especially when they leave you open. They've been very good so far defending the pick and roll. That's going to be another area of concern. West Virginia's found success with that. Typically, BYU has guarded that well. Now, they have given up some points in transition in a few of their losses. Will West Virginia look to push it? Maybe. You should have some success. All right, you want to try and get fancy and try and identify a range again?
Yeah, I'd like to.
See if we can hit 2 games in a row. How about left baseline mid-range?
Short corner.
Between the lane and the three-point line.
Call that short corner, yeah.
Okay. You ready? Teams are shooting 39% there against BYU. Decent number. It's only 4% of the shots against them, though, so teams don't get there very often. You know who happens to like that spot?
Jesse.
Raekwon Battle.
Pull up baseline.
Goes left, pulls up from there, elevates up. It's one of West Virginia's best spots at home by field goal percentage. So you want spreads on stats number? There's one.
Left baseline.
Best spots at home by field goal percentage. They're shooting 42% from that spot is West Virginia.
And BYU's giving up 39 from there.
Mm-hmm. So watch that left mid-range. Now you want to go further?
Well, sure.
I'll give you another one. right corner threes have worked against BYU, 44%. Right corner three. So that'd be in front of the West Virginia
doesn't
bench.
shoot those.
They don't shoot them. Just 22% from that spot at home, shooting percentage-wise, and they don't shoot them very often.
Now, if they do, it's normally Seth Wilson.
It is normally Seth Wilson.
Need to put Seth in that corner. Let him gun up some of those from that near corner.
It's a spot that's been – opponents have shot it well against BYU in that spot.
All right.
There you go.
Those are the intricacies of BYU. I'll just give you some base numbers. They're 15-5 overall. They're 3-4 in the Big 12. So all but one of their losses have come in conference play. Really good at home, 11-2. On the road, true road games, 1-3. Neutral games, they're undefeated on the season, 3-0. So you don't want to see them on a neutral court or play them in Switzerland. Their losses have been at Utah by 4. That's a big rivalry. They lost at Cincinnati. Excuse me. No, they didn't. Cincinnati beat them in Provo, 71-60. Cincinnati won in Provo. They lost at Baylor by 9. They won at UCF by 5. They beat the stuffing out of Iowa State in Provo, 87-72. They lost by 7 in Lubbock. Grant McCaslin, first-year coach of the Red Raiders, candidate for Coach of the Year.
Mm-hmm.
They lost at home to the Houstons, 75-68. And then last Saturday, they beat Texas by a dozen, 84-72. Keep this in mind. Because there is no Big 12 SEC challenge this year, each team in the league gets a week off. West Virginia's week off is next week. They play Saturday, and then they don't play again until the following Saturday. BYU's off week was this week. They haven't played since last Saturday. So these will be rested, well-fed, and hungry Cougars that come into the Coliseum on Saturday.
Could also be rusty Cougars coming into a gym they've not played in.
Could be.
And interestingly enough, teams are shooting just 33% from three against West Virginia in the Coliseum.
Excuse me?
Teams are shooting 33% from three against West Virginia in the Coliseum. Not very good.
Just receiving some data reconnaissance from a source. Reached out and asked how many people would be in the Coliseum on Saturday. And as of right now, about 12,000 tickets.
Mm-hmm.
About 12,000 tickets are out. So this will be one of those
crowd.
This will be one of those Mountaineer Saturdays, right? Mountaineer fans love basketball. Agree?
Agree.
And just it's a little bit of a trek. Weekdays, completely understand, hard to do. But on weekends, Mountaineer fans, they'll come to the Coliseum. They'll come to the Coliseum, and it sounds like on Saturday, fueled by the victory over the Bearcats, you'll even get a little bit better. So you'll be in that double-figure plus.
This will be a good one. And these teams that shoot the three this much and this well, there's a lot of variance here. So if they get hot, look out. But if they're missing shots, that changes their offense significantly.
Mm-hmm.
On the flip side, West Virginia is really starting to heat up from three. In 3 of its last 4 games, West Virginia's made 46% of its threes.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty good. Near 50% from three. Given how much this team struggled for a good part of the year in making shots, they're really doing it lately. The one game in that stretch where they didn't hit nearly 50%, they made 39%, which you'd take all day long.
Sure.
So they're shooting it really well. There you go. I think I've exhausted my numbers. For this game.
You talk about giving a good bang for the buck to Conley CPA Group. They value every dollar of their business customers and clients. You value every stat that you give. You pump them up.
A lot of stats.
Conley CPA Group. I have a thought, a suggestion, and I don't know, we statistically, based upon our demographics, no one's ever going to accuse us of being a young show. We don't skew heavy in the teenage, or there's some students that maybe get a little, maybe their parents listen and they can tell Johnny and Jeffy. But here's a suggestion for WVU students in the student section on Saturday against BYU. Had a little situation there last Saturday up at Provo where those unruly students at BYU wore a T-shirt that spelled out "horns down," right? Had to take them, were advised to take them off before the game. I think it would be a nice stroke by WVU students on Saturday to wear "horns down" T-shirts in the WVU student section.
As a show of solidarity?
You take a shot at Texas, and it's almost a little bit of a, I'm not going to say a taunt, but like, hey, BYU, you overreacted there by making your kids take the shirts off. I think you do. Go ahead. What do you think of that? You're pretty good on instantly scoring my suggestions. I mean, you've chastised me when I suggested that we should have a beer. You chastised me when I said we should have an outdoor venue, popcorn, outdoor events.
I'll chastise you now because you're taking a lot of credit for things that weren't necessarily all your idea. So I'll chastise you there. Here's what I would say to that. As I said last show, I still side with, I blame Texas for that more than I do BYU.
Right.
BYU is just they're very nice.
They're great people.
Very nice people. So they were just trying to be nice.
Yeah.
What I don't know, does the league give you an automatic technical if you go horns down T-shirts like that?
Yeah, I don't think so.
No, they don't?
No.
Huh.
I think it'd be kind of cute. I think
Does Texas make about 3 or 4 videos on you?
Who cares?
Does Rodney Terry fly up here and complain?
Who cares? You got to go there anyway coming up here next Saturday. Might as well get your money's worth out of the win you had against them. I think you might get on ESPN. I think like they start the highlight package. You know, they got to get in a locator shot when you start the highlights, and they'll go like, at WVU Coliseum on Saturday night, Mountaineer students show up. Why are they wearing those horns down shirts if they're playing BYU? Well, a week ago, BYU students, they'll cut to the BYU footage, then they'll show the WVU students, and they're like, and then they go on and they show the highlights of the Mountaineer game.
I would prefer, since you play them immediately next, I would prefer you didn't do it this time.
Right.
But maybe you travel with some horns down T-shirts in your bag, the equipment bag, official equipment bag, and if you beat them down there for the season sweep, you quick throw those on, and you walk across that Longhorn in Moody Center's, and I can't say the Moody Center, but I can say Moody Center.
Moody Center.
Right? And you walk across the middle of the Moody Center floor and say, thanks for having us, while you're wearing a T-shirt with a horns down logo.
Yeah, probably.
I might suggest that as an alternative.
Yeah. Our buddy Joe Mock, he'd be the first to do. He lives down there in Texas. He's the guy that's adopted Eric Stevenson. Even Mock,
yeah,
guy that brings us the donuts that you never get. Yeah. Okay, yeah, I like all of that. Very good. Well, glad we took care of that. Spreads on Stats brought to us by the Conley CPA Group, and a reminder to you, we'll talk more about this coming up. As we often say, it's always pontoon boat season. You know that. I know that. Our listeners know that.
Big advocate of that.
And at Lou Wendell Marine Sales in St. Albans, they've got an unbelievable 3-guy special. If you're in the pontooning world or interested in getting a pontoon boat, they sell one of the premier manufacturers of pontoon boats in the world is Avalon. And they've got a 2023 Avalon 2385 Entertainer, the top of the line, tri-tune model. You can do whatever you want. Water skiing, tubing, entertaining, family, friends. You can also make a lot of noise. Got an unbelievable system in there. A lot of music. And power steering, power assist, slate teak flooring, LED lighting all over, inside, outside, upside down. And just a few of the options. Plus you get the trailer, Honda 150 motor. Check it out at LouWendellMarineSales.com. You, anything else? Anything else?
I was just trying to look. We had talked going into that game that Edwards, Battle, and Creasa had only played 9 minutes together.
Yeah, that was a surprise.
In 20 games.
Right.
Looks like that's jumped up to 29 minutes now. So they got 20 minutes together last night. There, and again, plus minus has some holes in it, but let's just take it for easy to understand. Your plus minus, you're just net ranking.
Well,
how many points
we have a
up
question coming
minus.
up on Textual Healing about plus minus. A gentleman said Josh just randomly threw out that Raekwon was plus 20. And he basically said, what the heck is this? What is it? Okay, we'll explain it to you. Really super simple. So all that means is when that particular individual was on the court during the game, his team's lead either increased by what number or decreased by what number. So in other words, if you're plus 20, that means when Raekwon Battle played on the court last night, West Virginia's lead went up 20 points while he was on the floor in his stints off and on. So he's plus 20. You conversely can take a look. Let me bring up that box real quick. You can take a look at some of the other numbers. Oh, they don't even put that on that box. But if someone's minus 10, that means while you were on the floor during the game, your team lost 10 points. That's all it means.
And so, again, it's a nice overview look. There's obviously some other factors that go into it that may not be directed to each individual player that gets credit for some of those pluses. But for the sake of this discussion, when those three are on the floor together on the season, West Virginia's plus 23 points. When they're off, when none of the three play, minus 15. That's a 38-point swing right there with those three.
How about that, dude?
And they've been off way more than they've been on, so that
might be your best stat right there.
You think?
So here's what the computer says. Play Raekwon, Kerr, and Jesse Edwards. That's basically what it says.
Yeah. Plus 23 in 29 minutes played.
Yeah, just in case you needed to figure that one out. All right, let's do this. Textual healing is your opportunity to interact with us 24/7. Text line number 304-404-4083, 304-404-4083. And it's sponsored by episode800.com. That's the website where you can purchase all of the merchandise that we provide to you, our listeners. Gear, hats, quarter zips, t-shirts, corsets, work boots, underwear.
I don't know if all of that's on there.
Most of what I just said is on there. Not all of it. Coffee. Boy, Mountaineer Roasting. I went over there the other day. Got a good one. I ordered a little something special. Rusty. You know Rusty, the owner?
Sure.
I said, give me a little something to take the edge off. You know, it's coming out of that cold. He gave me a few shots extra of whatever it is that they make it extra.
Were you a little bouncy?
Well, I don't know if I was bouncy or not, but my hair tingled. You know, you can feel the tips of your hair. I thought that was good. Now, you're not going to get that same reaction with our game day grind. That's just a nice, beautiful morning, beautiful,
nice everyday coffee.
Light roast coffee. You can get that there as well. Update from episode800.com. We had that special Valentine popcorn that was made by the unbelievable folks at Mountaineer Popcorn out there in Shepherdstown. They grow the popcorn in Shepherdstown, and then at some point, it gets picked, husked, dried, popped, and then made into an absolute artistic creation. The vanilla Valentine Strawberry Crunch is 80% of those folks that ordered, 80% of the orders will be shipped. When did this come? Yesterday. Get shipped today. 80% shipped today. The rest will ship on Monday. So you will have it in time for Valentine's Day. Some of it's already out there. I'm getting some responses already from some people. Oh, and by the way, maybe jumping ahead here, I've been accused of doing that as well. Football schedule is out for next season.
Are you about to overpromise something?
Well,
this hasn't been discussed. I know. I already know what you're going to say. It has not been discussed.
Based on the unbelievable outpouring of support for the food courts, 2 food courts that we did during the last football season, I'm feeling pretty good.
I knew it.
With the way the schedule lays out, I say we go September and October, all the home games. What do you say? That schedule lays out pretty doggone nice now.
I mean, you're truly unmanageable.
I'm just saying.
Because I agree. When the schedule came out, that was my first thought. Wrote a little note and said, got to get with our guy, make sure we can start moving on the process, see how that works. And now you've just announced it. Before that could even take place.
I've just got 3 guys food court open September and October. You got a home game, we got a food court. Well,
please listen to future episodes, subject to change.
We wanted to dip our toe into to see if it would work well. And you know, one of the things that's not been brought up about the schedule?
It's actually that is an overpromise, but it's not one of your. I thought you were going to say like we were going to open the Penn State game food court like on the Wednesday of that week.
Oh, there's any question we will. Oh, that's definitely more than a Friday, Saturday. That's going to be a midweek. We're opening that thing midweek.
I do think we should talk about that.
Yeah. But West Virginia, as you all know, in October, there's 2 in October at home. Really pristine opportunity to have one of those autumnal odysseys of colorful foliage. Just it'll be idyllic. And 3 guys. We'll be there with the 3 guys food court.
You're way too early announcing that, but I don't disagree with your premise.
So what is it, February? I mean, it's only 7 months ahead of the game. I just want people to plan early. Here we go.
Well, maybe the folks that issue the permits are listening, and that'll give us a jump on that. We're not going to them 12 hours before. Give them a little lead time this time.
Yeah, it may have been a little tight last year.
We were tight.
They were awfully nice to work with.
They got it done.
Yeah, very good.
Everybody got it done.
Yeah, it was very nice. Team effort.
Yep.
Just like the team. Good team effort.
So anyway, if you're listening from the city, multiple agencies that listen, we
got a lot of
consider this our verbal request.
Mm-hmm.
We will follow up in writing.
Mm-hmm. Here we go. From the text line, substantive question here, which I know is a little outside of the comfort zone for all of you.
There's a heater right out of the gate.
Sure. Bring it, big boy. With the understanding and belief that Josh Eilert has done a great job in keeping this team together, piecing together a competitive team, which I do think will surprise down the stretch, what is the timing, the process that Ren Baker will employ in your estimation with respect to hiring or announcing a new coach? Again, I'd love to keep this entire staff in one capacity or another. They're good young coaches, bright futures. But I think the elephant in the room is a real one. And with recruiting, it is a significant issue. Great job by you as always, which I do appreciate. Maurice from Welch. P.S. Josh Eilert is a good man and a good coach. He inherited a job under circumstances which prevented success at every turn. Ditto what you said, Maurice. Thank you for listening. So one point I'll kind of answer this non-chronologically. I'll go backward. Your point at the end was, and with recruiting, it is a significant issue. I really don't think that is what it used to be by any stretch of the imagination.
Agree.
It's totally not what it was. It's almost a 180 from what it was because of the portal and because of second-time transfer eligibility. Look at it, man. Like, it doesn't matter if you hire a coach in March, April, for that matter, May. I mean, West Virginia was picking off players in June, right? Slazinski, just off the top of my head, Slazinski comes in late. Farrakhan comes in late. Ofri comes in late. So it no longer is what it was. All you have to have now, to be quite, let's just cut to the chase, all you have to have now to put a roster together is money. As different as that sounds, as different as it used to be. Something I'd never say 6 years ago when we first started this thing, all you have to do is have enough money to go buy the players. Blatant, that's what it is. So don't get overly concerned on timing because all you have to do is have the dollars. There's going to be enough talented players in the portal to go get them. Right? Things happen. Players are available. In regard to the other aspect of it, I think that Ren has stated from the whole part, he's going to make a continual evaluation, and what he has to do, in his opinion, and his job responsibility is to put whoever he thinks is the best person possible to bring West Virginia's basketball program forward and to be at the level that West Virginia wants to be. So whatever iteration that comes out to be, that's his job. So the timing isn't like it used to be. Like, hey, we got to hire quick because otherwise, no, it's not like that really. You disagree and agree?
No, agree with that. And obviously it won't happen until the season's over. That when all the evaluations are in, teams are done playing, then you'll sit and you'll do your evaluation.
This gentleman says, idea for you guys for your Lou Wendell promotion. Get some of that Scott Joplin music in the background during your read for the Entertainer special. Yeah. You remember the Entertainer? Marvin Hamlish. Da 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 dun 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 dun.
No.
Da na 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 na. Na 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 na. You don't remember that? Hamlish. Marvin. Question. Tony, in today's society, I'll be shocked if we have enough little league, middle school, high school coaches and officials to continue some sports. Coaches are resigning, and it's not because of the kids. Sad. Let's go Mountaineers. Texter, in response to the last name on the jersey discussion, who could forget He Hate Me in the XFL? You see that? Remember that one?
I remember that.
This could get very ugly in college athletics, signed by Glenn and Scott Depot. Nah, I think they'll stop it. They'll just make a rule and says if it's not your last name, you're not putting a name on there. Unless it's episode800.com. Texter, to answer Hoppy's question, the pontoon boat is on the Savannah River in Augusta, Georgia. There it is, Brad.
Mm-hmm. From last week's show?
Yeah.
Or Monday's show? Yeah.
That may be a purchase at Lou Wendell. Not sure if that's an Avalon. If it was a little closer, I'd be able to tell. Texter. Well, this was the question about Raekwon plus 20. We answered that. Texter. My two-year-old boy, his name is Nealon, is loving your Mountaineer munch. My 4-year-old Spencer is enjoying a certain book before bed. Take a look at the picture there, Brad. They don't love it. They don't love it when it's time for ball game on TV, but I'm working on them. Signed by Dave and Kaiser. So look at that. Got the Mountaineer munch. And what book is that young little child over there reading? Well, that looks as though, son of a gun, that's my kid's book. Where can you be? Traveling West Virginia, high and low. Texter, ciao amici. 3 guys on YouTube in a Tesla. Just call me high tech. Look at that there. Dino in Morgantown. He's watching our show in a Tesla on the YouTubes.
Thank you, Dino.
Then he came back in and said, hey, the last Kircheville on the face of the earth, coffee in the morning. So he's got a Kircheville beer, and there's our coffee game day grind. Thank you.
Got it all. Thanks, Dino.
Texter, Brian from Williamstown. I love the referee discussion and wanted to chime in. So last show we talked about referees and the whole deal. While I agree with Brad 100%, growing up in Polka, we never discussed calls. It was not in the DNA we were taught here. You own up to your mistakes. Polka basketball was and is 2 things: man-to-man defense, tough, hard-nosed defense, motion basketball. If your butt wasn't setting a flare screen or making a back cut, you're on the bench. If anyone even talked to an official, you were going to the bench. Never once do I remember ever hearing officiating as an excuse for a loss. We were taught to always look inward. What could I have done better? Another note, my stepdad, rest in peace, was a former high school and D2 ref in West Virginia and actually friends with Gene Sterator. But I always remembered him treating the game like a referee should, own up to my mistakes, but keep the coaches and players accountable as well. He'd be more than happy to talk to the players and coaches during the game as long as you spoke to him like a gentleman versus screaming and yelling. You'd probably see the benefit down the road in that game. Things like keeping an eye on that jersey tug or watching out for an illegal screen. He always tried to be accountable, and I think most refs are the same. Certainly there are always bad apples, but I tend to give the benefit of the doubt. Don't let a bad call take away from the fact that you shot 10 of 18 at the foul line or gave up way too many turnovers. You are always in control as the players to making your game and your team better. Just my 2 cents. P.S. Have you seen those PFF ratings for Hudson Clement and Jaheim? 2 of the best freshmen in the nation. Tongue click. Yep. Texter. Don't look at this text. Just listen, okay?
Okay.
Don't look at it. But I think you'll find it memorable. 3 guys, like spreads, that's you. My referee career ended at a lower level of basketball. I was finishing high school in the 2000s, early 2000s in Mon County. Completed the referee certification course and was refereeing a local youth tournament. This particular game, there were 2 good, tall, twin brothers playing. Every call, however, I could hear someone in the stands chastising, critiquing, and yelling like it was a Big East game. I didn't want to turn and give that spectator, likely a parent, acknowledgement. I knew the game, knew the rules, figured it was because I was young. At halftime, I mentioned to our site director, there's some yahoo in the stands losing his mind. Something to keep an eye on or maybe kick him out, which was not an uncommon practice. Second half goes by, similar fashion. Twins team wins, strong fashion, but this guy in the stands won't stop. Game's over. I catch up with our site director, asking if he saw the guy or I thought he would try to calm him down. Our site director told me he wouldn't, and he didn't. I asked why. He answered, the fan yelling at you was Tony Caridi. He can do what he wants. At this point, I almost felt like a badge of honor, like a Tim Higgins or a Teddy Valentine, but realized the politics to come up in this field while I'm doing it for spending gas money, maybe it was not worth it. So
That's tremendous. All right, explain yourself.
Thank you. It's signed by Allen in Morgantown. Well, this is various things. So I think over time, so he said the 90s, so we're talking about 25 plus years, nearly 30 years. I think Allen may have had some factual inaccuracies in this, but I will also stand up and say this. Was I a wacko when my kids were young to a point? Yes, I was. I got too involved in it because I'm involved at a high level. So when you went on, it didn't matter if it was a Big East game. I was like, okay.
Locked in. Yeah, I get it.
And expected the same accountability, which in hindsight now is stupid.
Yes.
As my kids got older, and these are the twins, as they got older, like I did the 180 on it and just completely pulled back and went like, it doesn't matter. This is no big, it's fine, whatever. I really think he is exaggerating on me berating him the entire game. That I probably
But you were yipping.
There's no question. At times I would yip.
Yeah.
So is it anything to be proud of on my part? Absolutely not. My wife suspended me from games. She would say, you're not going to the next 3 games. This is when Michael was playing, our oldest. He's 33 now. So, but she gave me a 3-game suspension because okay, you're out. And so, yeah, like it's not something I look fondly on in the past, right? Won't do it like my grandkids when they play. Like I'm just going to sit in the stands like I'm like, whatever, good job, whatever, don't care. But yeah, but I do think you're exaggerating a little bit. Because I couldn't sit in the stands and scream and yell the whole game because obviously people do know who I am, and that's not what I would do. But I tell you what, I can zip you some pretty doggone good lines. I bet you I had some good lines. So that's my explanation.
You know, speaking of that, I was proud of myself the other day at a youth basketball game.
Why is that?
Well, I was trying to be supportive of the officials instead of critical. Ball out of bounds. It was a close play. Our defender reached in, looked like they might have got it there, and then it might have bounced off the offensive player out of bounds.
Sure.
And the official comes over, did a nice job. You could tell he was trying. Same thing, knew the rules. He liked how he was doing the game. It was happened right in front of us, and he kind of hesitated, but then gave it the white, and then kind of looked over. So I thought I was refereeing for it. I said, "Yep, you got it right. It's white," even though it went against our team.
That was nice.
That was a very big moment of me there.
Did you think there was
helping the officials out there?
Did you think there's some bad calls last night on balls out of bounds on both baselines?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Missed a couple.
Didn't know if it was just me.
Yeah, missed a couple.
Texter. 3 guys. The days are getting longer, as we're all well aware. That means baseball right around the corner. I'm thinking the crew efforts a new seasonal promotion. Given that accounting season and baseball season come together, maybe we can start some world champion CPAs to sponsor a $5 gift card to GoMart for every home run and double hit by the Mountaineers this spring. With JJ finishing off the season with a 4.49 average, that's a lot of fly rod Slim Jims. Yeah, we'd be open to that. If someone wants to do a co-promotion. Texter. I'll go into food now. Tony, I call these spaghetti foldovers. They're delicious. I take a piece of bread and put room temperature butter on every square inch of that bread. Then I take the spaghetti, put it on the bread, fold it in half. It's delicious. I will say I don't eat it at the table like that, though. I usually make my foldovers with the leftover spaghetti when I'm looking for a snack later that night after dinner. Fellas, if you've never tried it, you got to try it. Well,
And
Brad has helped me become not accusatory about what other people eat.
thank you.
So if you think that's good, I mean, awesome, enjoy it. To me, and I'd bite into it and try it. To me, it just seems like, whoa, that's like a double dose of the starch.
But you eat the bread with the pasta.
I don't really need a ton of, no, I really don't. I normally separate. Yeah. I mean, if people love it, awesome. Here's another one. Same topic. Mike in Meadowbrook. 3 guys on the spaghetti sandwich subject. I like mine heavy on the meat sauce with a Heiner's hamburger bun. The locals are welcome to the Abruzino's bread, but nothing more delicious or West Virginian than spaghetti on a Heiner's bun. Love the show going on this. I see what he's doing there.
Yeah,
it's totally soft roll.
Yeah, I'm in.
So that almost is
good.
like that would be almost like and replacing a hot dog in the hot dog bun would be the spaghetti. But that soft bun brings that sauce into the dough,
Totally in.
So understand. Hola, Tres Muchachos. Sean from Raleigh here. Been a while. Documented in an earlier text. I think of things to comment on, then 5 seconds go by and I forget. Oh, well. My first item of less importance, the pressure is a privilege quote, should be accurately credited to Billie Jean King. The second item is a bigger deal to me personally. So the Big 12, the day before the football release schedule, did their little graphic on the Twitter, Twixter, whatever, of course. They go Central Time only on that. So I went after him a little bit. There was some support for our premise that the world is round, but I also took a bit of beating from many, even some outside the Central Time Zone. Well, I took the high road, kept silent, but particularly infuriating was Texas fans chiming in. That took restraint to not retaliate against their sorry horns down asses. Anyway, my 2 cents on the schedule as I licked my wounds is, wow, that first half is going to be challenging. Take care. See y'all down the road somewhere.
In Sean's defense, it's tough when you're having a discussion among Big 12 members with the time zone thing because the bulk of them are in the Central Time Zone. So, of course, they're going to try and shout the Eastern Time Zone down.
Yeah, but that's changing.
It just remains as true today as it was before. When you put it in Central only, that's a yak, and you've messed it up, and you're not doing it right, Big 12.
They're going to have a heck of a deal. I mean, you got these West Coast teams coming next year. Better get it fixed.
We've now moved from it's fixed to it's incredibly inconsistent, which almost makes you more mad.
Yeah. They got this super weird thing they put on their releases now that says CT, and they make you think like it's Central Time, and they put CT, and then they put in parentheses campus time.
Yeah, don't do that either. When it's the abbreviation for Central Time, don't do that.
Yeah. Oh, God.
You're taking something that's really not that hard and making it really hard. That's the bottom line. It's really not hard.
Thank you. Texter says, I had a quick embarrassing story to tell after hearing about Hoppy's power nap. I've always done a lot of driving for my work, so I'm a big proponent of a 15 to 20 minute power nap while he's in his car. Years ago, I worked out of my house for a nonprofit organization. Since I didn't have an office, I frequently met with people at public locations where we could talk, go over paperwork, etc. Well, one day, I'm supposed to meet a lady at McDonald's at noon to go over some paperwork. I pulled in about 11:40 in the morning. My eyes were heavy. I knew I had enough time to squeeze one in before heading inside to meet her. Leaned my seat back, closed my eyes. My next conscious memory was jerking awake to the woman who I was supposed to meet angrily rapping on my window. I stared at her angry face and then at my dashboard clock, which now read 12:33. I still remember the awkwardness as my seat very slowly raised me to a sitting position while she glared at me from outside of the car. I apologized profusely, but she let me know in no uncertain terms that she was very busy and didn't have time to wait on people while they slept in their cars. I deserved it, though. I still take naps in my car, but never right before a scheduled meeting. Signed by Chris in Fayette County. Yeah. I get it.
Good advice.
Yeah, don't sleep.
Never before a scheduled meeting.
Not before a scheduled meeting.
When the scheduled meeting, people can see you sleeping if you oversleep.
Yeah, go somewhere else. Hey, guys, as I'm watching your discussion on officiating, I wonder, do sports betting sharps bet according to the officials assigned to the game? When Tony says that he can look at a list of officials before a game, see a problem, and during that game the premonition becomes reality, I see a tremendous betting opportunity. I'm guessing the sharps are on this. Would love to hear Spreads' thoughts. Signed by Buckwheat in Chicago, originally from Morgantown. I never wish a show. I wish I could get more often.
Yes.
So
database is out there. Totals, home team versus road team, football, college, NFL. Yes, it's a thing.
Yeah, there's databases out there that could tell you what an official's record is refereeing against a specific team. You could say, hey, the last 5 years when this guy's worked a West Virginia game, West Virginia wins 82% of the time at home and 16% of the time on the road.
And what their record is to the total, over, under, that stuff's all there. Crews, number of flags they throw, what kind of penalties they call the most, how many holding calls they call. Yep, it's there.
Texter, ciao amici. I'm not working today, but I am efforting. Boy, you got a lot of football helmets there. Is that like a picture inside the equipment room? I mean, that's a lot of helmets.
Yeah, he does. Those are nice.
Texter, 3-guy, Craig in Oakmont. I got my popcorn from you guys. I love it. And shout out to Evan in Arlington for the top gift, top notch. Texter, Tony, are you trolling us, your loyal listeners, with the a cook jersey question? With your access and connections, you really don't know why he has a different name on his jersey? Come on, man. I think the last show, it was something to do with his parents' names, right? It was one of his parents' names. Reyna, is that what it is?
I don't remember.
Like, I'm sorry, that is just like, okay, fine, whatever. That to me is not a P1 priority to find that out. But it's something to do with his parents' name. Someone brought that up. Tony, have you ever seen a clock malfunction more than it does at the Coliseum? Is it an error in the system itself or human error? If it is with the system error, we need to update the thing pronto. Signed by KP. Again, I don't know. I mean, sometimes the clock things that they operate on their waistbands doesn't work, does work. It happens. I don't know if West Virginia, it happens more than normal. I mean, I don't know. It happens. Home and away. I mean, they stop the game. Texter, don't know why people complain about the officiating. They had a great whistle tonight. Ha, ha, ha. Great W. We could have quit with 6 minutes left, but they fought back. Signed by Periopolis Phil. And for Groundhog's Day, I predict 6 more wins for the world champions. Got 11 to go?
Take that.
Charlie from Midlothian. A few intuitively obvious comments. Those who think basketball is a non-contact sport have never played. Basketball is a game of runs, and West Virginia had the last and most important one. You got to make your free throws. Spreads will have plethoras of positive stats. Great comeback and great win, guys. You take, how about the dude, Johnny Newman, with that injury?
Yeah, he was hurting.
Unusual, and he was in unbelievable pain.
He was.
He must have took a knee or a hip into his hip.
I hate to speculate, but I'm about to speculate. The replay showed he looked to grab his midsection when he was on the wing, then came in and went down. And when he walked off, he was holding his rim, but it wasn't a shoulder.
Right.
Because he then reached the shoulder out to give one of his teammates 5 and immediately went back here. So is it something in the rib area?
And that could have happened at any point. Took an elbow and just like, boom.
But he visibly winced, and there didn't look to be contact. But who knows?
Texter, Tony, Cincinnati flew in and out of Morgantown. Shorter trip, smaller plane, ? So you can fly a 30-seater into Morgantown. That's what they did. I had talked to one of their dudes, and they said they flew a 30-seater in. So, yeah, you can do that. But West Virginia flies 737, big boy plane, and Bridgeport is more safe to land that than in Morgantown. I mean, I guess if you extended the runway in Morgantown, you'd have to go over the top of West Banco over to Long John Silver's in order to get enough distance on that runway. Wouldn't you think?
Could go over the road on the other side. Can you take it over the other way? Just put traffic underneath, just an elevated runway. Could you do that? Would that be easy for pilots to hit an elevated runway?
Yeah, I think we'll stay with Bridgeport. I think we'll stay there. Yeah, but if you fly a 30-seater, we used to do that. We would fly a regional jet. This was in the late 90s. We'd come back from basketball sometimes into Morgantown Airport on a regional. You can do that. But 737, because you're flying longer distances now, you get a big boy plane. Howdy, Scopes, Spreads, and the legislature man. Yeah, he's not here. Been a good week to be a Mountaineer so far. They could have folded the tent with that deficit, but they efforted their way to country roads. Watching this game felt like pulling teeth, but the students continue to show. Wednesday night, a 7-13 team, and they're still filling the lower level. That one national writer was talking about downsizing arenas recently. West Virginia doesn't need to do that. Even with a smaller crowd, it was loud on the radio. Yeah, the smaller basketball arena, Baylor just did it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. We could get into that discussion. Here's what I think. The Coliseum is going to be used for a minimum of the next 25 years. Wouldn't you agree, Senator?
Okay.
Another 25? It's got 25 years left in it, as is. Right?
Okay, good. Let me finish where you're going, and I'll...
So, like, it's going to be what it is. I think the next time they build one, whenever that is, it'll probably be a little bit smaller. It'll be more suites than seats.
Yeah. 10's a good number.
Yeah, 10's a really good number.
From a ticket selling standpoint, you'd rather have tickets be difficult to come by than easier to come by, right?
Raises scarcity.
Raises demand.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the trends is to have more. The one thing the Coliseum does not have, obviously, if you were going to try and retrofit it, but it's so darn expensive, it's going to roughly be the cost of building a new arena at times. You'd put some more suites or put some suites in there and take out some general seating if you could figure out a way to do it. Yeah. Which has been looked at multiple times over the years, just hasn't been cost effective to do so.
Yeah. Taking a picture here in a second of you.
Why?
Well, someone just called us, one of our coaching buddies, and I just
said we're busy.
I just said recording and just sent him a picture of you there. I may have gotten us may have gotten me in trouble. Did a talk show in Waco yesterday, and the guy said, "Hey, I understand you got some thoughts about Baylor's new arena." And I said, "Yeah, I was looking forward to watching a game on television from there. Didn't know it would also give me the opportunity to diagnose some early male pattern balding on the players." He said, "What do you mean?" I said, "What do I mean? Had to take a Dramamine at halftime in order I didn't get motion sickness."
They take offense to that.
No, he was good-natured about it.
I was going to say, you could have put my name on that too. I'll own that. That's a bad angle.
He said the athletics director there was on the show the day before, and they realized that there were some things they're going to need to change in the off-season.
Yeah, that's one.
Yeah.
We're not the only ones saying that. I'm sure they let you know that. We're not the only ones complaining about that.
I asked someone in WVU's athletic department about that last night, and I said, how in that world do you build a facility brand spanking new, that big, where someone at some point doesn't go like, well, wait a second, what's the mid-court camera angle going to look like? Of all of the things that go on, there's going to be more people in the history of that building that will watch a game there rather than be inside the seats to watch the game there. That's your brand. And you don't need to know what the top of someone's head looks like. I think they're going to get it fixed.
They'll fix it. I promise you we're not the only two complaining about that.
Yeah. Joe in Charleston, I understand some of the fan base being upset with how the season has gone in basketball. One complaint I don't understand is people thinking there are no in-game adjustments being made. Even if they don't see them during the game, you guys have covered the defensive adjustments that have been made. And during the Cincy game, every time the Bearcats got something going, tweaks were made, and we had an answer for every adjustment. The last 5 to 7 minutes of the game, the Mountaineers were able to really lock in and take away the pick and pop and the pick and roll, which hasn't exactly been a strong point this season. There were still a couple of rotations that were a little slow, but for the most part, they were taken away. I think we woke up a few of my Canadian neighbors across the river with my reaction to Edwards willing the second free throw up to go up 4 with 21 seconds to go. These guys don't quit. They're getting better every game. I know there isn't a lot of consistency on the road, but especially in basketball when a team is in a situation like West Virginia has been with a roster, it's a lot more difficult to play on the road. Coaching-wise, there is one major thing that I really can't understand from this game last night. What in the world was Cincinnati trying to accomplish in the last minute? Tied or down one possession, it's like they went into a total panic, taking some of the worst shots they had taken the whole night. Part of that was strong defense, but some of their sets after timeouts in the game so close. Let's just say I'm happy those calls didn't come from our bench. Proud of the guys and the staff. Another big takeaway for me is that they found ways to score on a night that Battle wasn't at his best. Not a knock against him. Everyone has those days. I love watching these guys getting better every day. Wish we had another season with everyone. Signed by Roger. He lives up there in Maine.
0 points from the pick and roll man last night for Cincinnati. 0.
Yeah. Texter, P1 Jason in Tulsa. Talked about him on the last show, right? He was up in the stands with that beer.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, guys, nice to be back in the win column. I guess we're 1-1 since this was only our second game with a real team, full team. First, let me say that I was drinking a lowercase Pistol Pete beer on Saturday because my date, who was an Oklahoma State fan, suggested I had one. Honestly, it was terrible. It tasted no better than the first batch of beer I brewed in a 5-gallon bucket in the guest bathroom of the house I was renting a long time ago in Santa Claus, Indiana. Am I crazy to think the new Big 12 is going to resemble the 16-team Big East? 16 teams with about 9 of them ranked all the time? Can't wait. I got to say, anytime that Tony says, this one will put West Virginia up by 4, making it a 2-possession game, I cringe a little bit. All I imagine is a 4-point play happening immediately. West Virginia would never have something like that happen to them, right? Anyway, great win. Now let's all remember to not be too loud when the BYU Marshmallows come to town Saturday. Don't want to make them cry by acting like it's a Division I Power 5 conference game. Maybe let's try to end the game in a tie so that everyone can get a participation trophy in lemon squares, signed by a P1 Jason in Tulsa. Texter. 3 guys that need Brad to provide some numbers. All due respect to Ofri Neve. Well, here comes a heater. Why is Coach Eilert putting him in midway through or late in the second half? Put him in at a crucial time against Oak State. We lost our lead. Cincinnati went on a 10-zip run. Not saying he won't be a good player one day, but why take out Raekwon when he's not in foul trouble? Why not put in Josiah Harris, who's proven to knock down shots? Not trying to bash a guy, but wondering if there are numbers to support that decision. Thank you so much for the insights.
Yeah, I know the stretch you're talking about there. I'd have to dive into that a little bit more to see if the numbers back that up. That'd be a Josh question there.
Yeah. I mean, there's reasons. I mean, specifically, I'd have to ask, but they've got you can ask, say, what were you thinking there? And they can say, well, this and this and this were happening. We needed to do this.
I don't know if it was Raekwon some rest to be ready for the final 5-6 minutes when he came back in.
Yeah. Reed in New Jersey writes in, I noticed at the game on Wednesday, the Big 12 teams were lined up across the top of the screen in the Coliseum. There's a picture. See that, Brad? And he says teams looked to be in alphabetical order based on the school name, except for UCF. They were last. Is this because they're requesting to be referred to as UCF and therefore we consider them to start with a U? If so, too much respect, haha. Yeah, that's probably it. I mean, that's what they go by UCF. So you
chastised me for that, so yeah.
Texter, let's freaking go. I'm so pumped up about West Virginia's schedule. And then they went and added a big win over Cincy. I'm not sure if the Big 12 is doing us any favors. The last time West Virginia had 7 true home games in football was 2016. We won 10 games that year. The bye coming off the long road trip to Arizona is nice, too. I don't know why. Maybe I'm already missing college football. I'm super excited for the coming season. Mm-hmm. Professor Vinny. Well, he writes in a lot. Is he like on a sabbatical or something? What do you say? A lot of time to write, right? And the semester's going on, right? And getting ready for midterms?
Between classes.
Oh. Pat from Wheeling writes in, can we reschedule all of our games to be played at home? I think everyone would like to do that. Last text comes in from Jack and Scott Depot. Just went back and I listened to the very first podcast of Three Guys Before the Game, your first episode. It was a total of 17 minutes long. There was no introduction music, no sponsors, no video. Quick rundown. Here's your show. Hey, everybody, welcome in. You're watching history being made. Texter. No, then he adds, this is what the topics were. Hoppy and Brad's issues with germs and wiping down microphones with alcohol. Mm-hmm. Brad talking about Will Greer for the Heisman. Mm-hmm. You guys talked about Jake Spavital. You talked about Virginia Tech's left-footed punter. Tony said, quote, who knows where this will be posted? Tony notes, Alan Taylor's podcast is an hour long. Hoppy said, I can't give anybody an hour. Oh, how times change. That was episode 1. And this was episode 526. So you just never know. You just never know. Thanks so very much for being with us. Our producer, Austin Wright. Three Guys returns on Monday. We'll recap the BYU game. Then West Virginia's got next week off. So we'll do a review of BYU Monday. We'll preview. You got a 2-gamer coming up, Texas and TCU. So that following week is going to be a challenge.
Yes.
Logistically.
Yes.
Probably just have to go Tuesday.
Yes. Early call.
Three Guys brought to us by Comax Business Systems, keeping West Virginia's business data safe, secure, and efficient for 25 years. If you're a business owner and you need stuff, IT, equipment, Comax Business Systems. Personal endorsement. Brought to us by Lou Wendell Marine Sales in St. Albans. They are unbelievable, and what they give to you and your family is family fun. Premier pontoon boat dealer in the state. You got pontoon questions, they got the answer. Visit LouWendellMarineSales.com. Take advantage of our Three Guys Avalon Boat Special. Three Guys also brought to us by Go-Mart. Go for good times. Go for Go-Mart. Toasty, tasty coffee. So much more. I just had a new tagline for him. I'm not going to use it. Should I?
No, probably not. When you ask that, you can tell me after you've shut the mics off. Which means you're about to say it.
When you got to pee, go to Go-Mart. Is that what you were thinking? I mean, seriously. Right? That's what Hoppy does when he goes. They give you all kinds of, they give you food. You go to the bathroom, you get whatever you need. Get the rewards card.
Full service.
Full service. Three Guys also brought to us by Conley CPA Group, providing info for spreads on stats, providing value beyond the numbers. All right, I got to go, and I got to go quick. I got to be at the Coliseum in 50 minutes. And the show's got to get posted.
Hurry up.
Frenetic.
See ya.
We're just shutting the mic off. Thanks for being with us. Have a great weekend. We'll see you.